Greetings to you, my subscribers and Simply Chess lovers. You are on the Chess Fan channel and this video features the 5th round game of the 2024 Candidates Tournament winner Domaraju Gukesh against Nijat Abasov, which was played in 2 rounds with 8 participants from April 3 to 23, 2024 in Toronto, Canada. This was the final stage of a series of tournaments to determine the challenger who will play with the current world champion, Chinese chess player, world champion in classics Ding Liren. This video shows the moves that took place in the game, and the options are only mentioned. For particularly thoughtful fans, there is the opportunity to consider all the options separately. E2 E4 E7 E5 Knight G1 F3 Knight G8 F6 D2 D4 Knight F6 captures E4 Bishop F1 D3 D7 D5 D4 captures E5 Knight E4 C5 Bishop D3 E2 C4 3 Petrov defense 3 D4 Bishop F8 E7 prevents BG5 Castling king side Castling king side Rook F1 E1 the position is equal C7 C6 Knight B1 D2 Knight B8 D7 H2 H3 A7 A5 Knight D2 B3 F7 F6 E5 captures F6 Knight D7 takes on F6 Bishop C1 E3 Knight C5 E4 Number Knight B3 D2 A5 A4 Knight D2 captures E4 Knight F6 takes on E4 A2 A3 Bishop E7 C5 Bishop E2 D3 Bishop C5 captures E3 Rook E1 captures E3 Queen D8 F6 C2 C3 Bishop C8 F5 Queen D1 E2 Knight E4 D6 Bishop D3 captures F5 Knight D6 captures F5 Rook E3 E6 Queen F6 F7 Rook A1 E1 H7 H6 Number no text 110471 Queen E2 C2 Queen F7 D7 C3 C4 D5 D4 C4 C5 White is much more active. Queen D7 F7 Rook E6 E4 Queen F7 D5 Rook E4 E5 Queen D5 F7 Rook E5 E4 Queen F7 D5 Rook E4 E5 Queen D5 F7 Rook E1 E4 Aiming for F4 Rook A8 D8 Rook E4 F4 D4 D3 Queen C2 captures A4 Queen F7 A2 King G1 H2 G7 G6 D2 is the strong threat. Queen A4 B4 Queen A2 F7 Rook E5 E1 Rook F8 E8 Rook F4 E4 Rook E8 captures E4 Rook E1 takes on E4 Rook D8 D5 Knight F3 D2 Knight F5 G7 King H2 G1 Knight G7 E6 Rook E4 E3 Knight E6 captures C5 Queen B4 C4 Knight C5 E6 Rook E3 captures D3 B7 B5 Queen C4 C3 threatens to win with RX D5 Knight E6 F4 Rook d3 e3. Rook d5 g5. Knight d2 e4. Rook g5 captures g2. King g1 h1. Knight f4 d5. Knight e4 f6. Knight d5 takes on f6. King h1 captures g2. Knight f6 d5. Queen c3 captures c6. Knight d5 captures e3. f2 captures e3. Endgame. KQ. Queen f7 f5. b2 b3. h6 h5. a3 a4. b5 captures a4. b3 captures a4. Queen f5 g5. King g2 f2. Queen g5 f5. King f2 g2. Queen f5 g5. King g2 f2. Queen g5 f5. King f2 e2. g6 g5. Number. e3 e4. Queen f5 takes on h3. Queen c6 g6. King g8 h8. Queen g6 h6. King h8 g8. Queen h6 captures g5. King g8 h8. Queen g5 h6. King h8 g8. Queen h6 g5. King g8 h8. a4 a5. h5 h4. Queen g5 h6. King h8 g8. Queen h6 g6. King g8 h8. a5 a6. Queen h3 h2. King e2 e3. Queen h2 h3. King e3 e2. Queen h3 h2. King e2 d3. Queen h2 h3. King d3 c4. Queen h3 c8. King c4 d5. Queen c8 d8. Queen g6 d6. Queen d8 a5. King d5 e6. Intending qf8 plus and mate. h4 h3. King e6 f7. Queen a5 a2. Queen d6 e6. Queen a2 captures e6. King f7 captures e6. kf6 would kill now. kp. h3 h2. a6 a7. White wants to mate with kf6. h2 h1. a7 a8. kq. King h8 g7. Queen a8 a7. King g7 h6. Queen a7 e3. King h6 h5. King e6 f5. Queen h1 f1. Queen e3 f4. Queen f1 b5. Queen f4 e5. White mates. Queen b5 d7. King f5 f6. King h5 h4. Queen e5 g5. Weighted error value, white equals 0.26, precise, / black equals 0.28, precise. Nijat Abasov have capitulated.